Our speaker for today, our guest for today is Isaiah Jackson, who is the author of Bitcoin and Black America. He is the founder of the Blockchain Project and the co-host of the Gentlemen of Crypto Daily News show. Since 2013, he has helped bridge the gap between cryptocurrency and the community as a Bitcoin consultant and certified Bitcoin professional. Question for you, Isaiah. So cryptocurrency is the digital currency of the future. Can you give us the 101? What are the different types of cryptocurrency and how are they used?
Absolutely. So the first cryptocurrency that was created in 2009 was Bitcoin, which is the largest market cap as well as the most used cryptocurrency. Bitcoin right now is one Bitcoin is trading at around $9,000 right now. And the reason it's the money of the future is because of the utility. The money that we use now is controlled, unfortunately, by private interests, Federal Reserve, banking industry, and a lot of times in the Black community, especially, they don't serve our best interests. So one of the things that I've done the last 7 years is encourage people to either buy or use Bitcoin because it gives you the ability to take control of your money. The utility is there. You can send it, you can receive it 24/7 to anybody in the world for very small fees, usually pennies. You can send $1 million. I've seen somebody send $1 million for 4 cents before. That kind of is better than the wire transfer business we have now. You can store it for long term like gold. And as far as freeing yourself, nobody can take it away from you. You control it and it's yours. So unlike the money system we have now, Bitcoin offers in my opinion, better money system.
So one thing I'm interested in is how did you get into cryptocurrency? What was the draw for you? You talked about, for the past 7 years, you've been trying to bring this into the Black community. What drew you in?
Oh yeah, well, oddly enough, a banker. I had a roommate who was a banker right after college, and he came home. If you read the book, I kind of tell the story about how he came home and said the word Bitcoin. And I have a tech background, being in IT and computer science. So to him, it wasn't as much financial. It was more tech-based. Back then it was. So when he told me, he was like, you should understand it. Just look it up. I looked it up and found some people that agreed. And it made sense because I remembered the crash of 2009, the financial crash. And I remembered how, a lot of people were desolate. There was no backup option. And now we do. We have a plan B with Bitcoin. So that's how I found out. And from 2013, just been pushing forward.
So you speak about, Bitcoin as a plan B. What are some of the risks that are associated with cryptocurrency?
Oh yeah, so for me, education is very important because there are a few risks involved, as with anything. As an investment, it is speculative for those who trade Bitcoin futures or trade in the margin trading. That is one of the risks. Also from a security standpoint, for those who are not tech savvy, it may be a little hard for grandma, so to say. However, that process is getting a lot better with onboarding with Cash App and other apps. So security is one issue. So you want to make sure you're secure there, just with any tech. Being an IT person, I'm sort of on that a lot. And then also too, from a risk standpoint, the ability to get hacked or to get your money taken. I know a lot of people are scared of that. One of the best parts about the education and what I do is teaching people how to protect themselves and secure it even better than you could a bank account or PayPal or anything else. So yes, your Bitcoin can be as secure as anything else, can be insured, and all those things are risk. However, the upside is way more valuable.
So, okay, you talk about the risks. One thing for me is, are there any myths that we could dispel about Bitcoin?
Plenty. There's plenty, thousands probably. First things first, if you, honestly, if you're a Black person and you watch the media and you see how they talk about Black people, that's how they talk about Bitcoin. It's usually dishonest. It's usually disingenuous. Honestly, it's a lie usually when they discuss Bitcoin to give you a misdirection. So that is one big myth, is that usually when they tell you Bitcoin is going to the moon, is going to pump forever, it's usually going to drop. They tell you Bitcoin is dead, it's going away forever. the price usually goes up. So it is sort of a funny thing there. Another myth, you do not have to buy a whole Bitcoin at one time. A lot of people think, oh, I don't have $9,000 to buy one Bitcoin right now. You can buy a fraction of a Bitcoin. Bitcoin is divisible up to 8 decimal places, sort of like our money system is divisible down to pennies and nickels. Bitcoin is divisible up to 8 decimal places. So you can buy $1 worth of Bitcoin, $2 worth. So that is another myth. Third is that it is explicitly used by criminals and drug dealers and for illicit activities. That is a myth. The cash is still king. That is the #1 way to anonymously do illegal things. I always tell people, criminals are going to do crime. It doesn't matter which medium they use. However, as far as Bitcoin goes, because of the blockchain and the ability to review transactions, it's actually less used than any other medium in the world for those illicit transactions. So that's a myth as well. There's a lot more, but I would like to see if people have questions, because I'm sure some people have heard some stuff. And like I said, I've spent the last 7 years basically dispelling myths and showing people the truth.
And one comment that we have from Cody is, it's not hard for grandma. If grandma knows how to send email, then she can learn. So talking about the
But I agree now. It is, but some people's grandmas can't send email. I have one. I'm just being honest. I don't want to, make it seem like everybody is going to get it the first time, but it is possible for everybody to use it. It is that simple. Send an email, text message. It is pretty much that simple.
Isaiah, can you share with us a little bit about, what are the types of ways that one can invest, and what are the pros and the cons of each?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So one way to invest is to buy Bitcoin directly, Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin can be purchased through something called an exchange. There are a few big ones, Coinbase being the biggest. Uphold is my personal favorite, and I can put those links in a few. So through an exchange, you can use your bank account to buy Bitcoin directly. You can buy it, one time and hold it. You can have recurring purchases as well. That's one way to invest. Another way to invest in Bitcoin is not only buying it, but accepting Bitcoin as a business. If you are a business owner, you can accept Bitcoin for your business, and it does two things. For one, it increases your marketing to the Bitcoin industry, because if people know you accept Bitcoin, they'll pay for it. And also too, in the future of money, being able to accept Bitcoin, having an apparatus is important for businesses. So that's another way to receive Bitcoin. You can trade Bitcoin. I wouldn't suggest it for newcomers. Some people have been in the Forex, stocks, commodities game for a while, so it may not be that hard to convert over to cryptocurrency, but that is another way. With Bitcoin futures you can invest through CME and CBOE. So there's a lot of ways to get involved. There's also some things on the investment side of hardware and software. So you can, for instance, have a Bitcoin ATM. I am an owner of a Bitcoin ATM. It's at a store in Georgia, formerly in Orange County. So you can buy a Bitcoin ATM, and if you don't want to directly invest in Bitcoin, you can buy the hardware or get the hardware at your store if you have a store, and you can basically receive fees for people buying and selling with cash. So there's a lot of ways to make money in Bitcoin. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of, like we said before, misdirection and myths, but currently we're starting to get away from that as people are starting to see how the economy is changing. So these are all ways to accept Bitcoin and to receive it.
Okay, so I know that you've talked a lot about Bitcoin. Are there other cryptocurrencies? And if so, what are they?
Absolutely. So yes, the Pandora's box that was open with cryptocurrency is that anybody can create a cryptocurrency in the world. However, for it to succeed, it does have to have money behind it, as far as the people, the team, community. So right now, Bitcoin is #1. #2 is Ethereum. And the use case for Ethereum is that you can build something called smart contracts. Smart contracts enable you to handle things like real estate, handle the blockchain on things like Walmart, Deloitte, IBM. Some of these big companies, they use Ethereum type smart contracts to execute sending and receiving goods. This saves time, this saves them money. And Ethereum is the #2 cryptocurrency, so that's another good one to look at. Another one is Monero, Monero. This is a privacy coin, the ability to send money completely anonymously to anybody in the world. Monero, that is the use case for that. there is a coin called Binance coin. It is a coin for an exchange. So that coin allows you to save 50% on fees if you use their coin on their exchange. So as you can see, all of these cryptocurrencies have different use cases. Different sectors of the Bitcoin or of the crypto industry do different things. So from an investment standpoint, you always want to do your research, and you want to remember that it is very early. Bitcoin is only 10 years old, and some of these other cryptocurrencies are maybe 2 or 3 years old. So we're looking at the very beginning of a new industry. So don't jump in completely headfirst in some of the smaller cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin, I would say, is pretty good to jump in headfirst, but some of the other ones are good to look at. Yes.
So one thing that was interesting to me, you talked a little bit about having like this Bitcoin ATM.
Mm-hmm.
Are there, other professions or ways to kind of like get into the industry part of this? And, what does that look like?
Oh, yeah.
If someone said, I want to go into this cryptocurrency as a
Mm-hmm.
career or profession.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I discussed this in the book as well, an entire chapter, 21st Century Economy, how to involve yourself. And one of the biggest things is, for one, if you want to get into the industry, and for two, if you're already in an industry, but you want to incorporate cryptocurrency. So first, if you want to get into the industry, I will say Bitcoin really needs artists, designers, of course, coders, if you have a background in software development, lawyers. There's a big need for lawyers because there's a lot of gray area, and with the SEC, IRS, CFTC, all of these things are sort of gray area with Bitcoin. So a lot of lawyers will be needed. And if you are, they go full on with Bitcoin, but if you have a show or if you have something, you should be talking about Bitcoin, especially if it's focused on, in my opinion, the Black community. That should be at least one topic here, every now and then. If you're already in an industry, I would say accounting. There's a huge need for accountants in the crypto industry because it's a totally new type of accounting. And I can tell you right now, if you're an accountant who does not offer cryptocurrency tax services, you will be left behind. That's just what it is. There are only a few that do it right now, but if you want to get ahead of it and you want to get the bulk of the industry, right now is the time. Again, lawyers, Bitcoin and some of these other anonymous cryptocurrencies give people the ability to hide money in marriages. So when you're going to have divorces, big divorce settlements where cryptocurrency is going to come up, and as a lawyer, what are you going to say? I don't know. Because I have had a judge reach out that literally did not know what that was. It was just like, I don't even know how to proceed with this going forward. So there's a need for that with lawyers. Engineers, software developers, again, if you're in that industry, blockchain engineers on average make 30% more being able to build on people's blockchain projects. So a shift from the tech industry is happening. Artificial intelligence and blockchain are probably the top two. So those are all ways to get involved in the industry and to become a crypto or blockchain person or work.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a difference between how I would use it as a person, for my personal use, versus how I would use cryptocurrency for my business? And what are some of those differences?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So personally, like I said before, you can save your Bitcoin, you can buy it and hold it, sort of like gold or any asset. And if you think long-term, Bitcoin will be worth more in the future because of the use case, which I believe that is what any investment you buy and sit on it, you can do that. Personal use, there are some great apps such as Lolly, Lolli. There's another one called Fold app. You have the ability to buy purchase goods at a discounted rate because you use Bitcoin. So that's one advantage of it. You can also earn Bitcoin just for making purchases you already do. Sephora, Walmart, Target, on these apps, you can actually make your regular purchases and receive Bitcoin for that. So as a regular person, you're getting cashback rewards in the form of Bitcoin. That is a huge thing now because a lot of people are saying, well, I don't want to risk the volatility of trading, buying it, maybe losing money. But if I'm already buying goods and I can receive Bitcoin for it, that is one definite way for you as an individual to earn it. Even children can do that. They can shop online and earn Bitcoin for that. So if you need to send remittances to people in other countries, that is a huge, a big thing with Bitcoin. People in the U.S. are sort of spoiled. We don't think, a lot of times about sending money back home. For people that have family in African countries, Caribbean, Venezuela, India, wherever, this is a huge deal. MoneyGram and Western Union have been robbing people for years, and Bitcoin seems to change that. So as an individual, there are some great ways for you to use it. And the use case, again, is a plan B. If you look at the economy right now, as we speak, I would not trust too much in the fiat printing machine that's happening right now. So just being honest, it's sort of going down the toilet. And personally, if you need a use case for Bitcoin, every single time the market drops, Bitcoin has increased by an average of 24%. So it's a great plan B. So as a matter of fact, it's the only positive gaining asset other than gold in 2020. Everything else, commodities, stocks, dead, gone. And Bitcoin is still holding strong as a store of value.
Excellent. And what about, me as a vendor or a company? What are ways that, I can think about employing Bitcoin within the way that I do business?
Oh yeah, very simple. With Bitcoin, if you, for example, with service workers that I come in contact with, if you accept tips, all you have to do is print out the QR code from your wallet. If you have a wallet, it's very simple, and I'll show it here because I'm sure just throwing out the word people will understand. But if you have a QR code, that's all you need, and you can show that to someone and make purchases that way. It's not coming up, but you can show that QR code either on a piece of paper. I've had Uber drivers. I've had Uber put the QR code in the back of the seat. You can tip them that way. So any service workers, you can get tips. If you own a business with a brick and mortar, standalone, one of the things you can get is a actual stand with a QR code to accept Bitcoin. And if you accept it that way, there are a couple things more you have to do as far as accepting as a vendor, but that's, another story. That's mostly because of Visa and MasterCard. But if you are online, if you have Shopify, Shopify actually has a Bitcoin option already where you can actually incorporate it. On my website, actually, bitcoinandblackamerica.com, there is an option to pay with Bitcoin, and it is through Shopify. So as a vendor, whether you have brick and mortar, whether it's online, whether you're just doing person to person, if you go to a a yard sale, if somebody has a QR code in their wallet, you can send money and receive it just as easy as, like stated before, like an email.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've heard these terms of hot wallets, cold wallets. Mm-hmm. Explain all that to me. Is it hot wallets, cold wallets?
Okay. Yes. The only thing you need to know, hot wallet is online, meaning it's connected to the internet, and cold wallet is offline. It's not connected to the internet. There's advantages and disadvantages to both. With a hot wallet, you have instant access. You can send it as soon as you want to send it. You can also receive and see it in real time. However, it is susceptible to maybe a hack or maybe an exchange failing. You basically have to depend on a third party to hold it. That is something that has gotten better over the years, so it's not as scary. However, when I first started out, nobody wanted to use hot wallets just because, we weren't sure. But yeah, very, very easy to use now. One example of that would be the Cash App Bitcoin wallet. That's considered a hot wallet. Anything on a computer, your phone, hot wallet. A cold wallet would be something offline, something like this. Not sure if you can see it, but this is something called Ballet Crypto. This is a stainless steel card. It's literally a stainless steel standalone card where you can send Bitcoin to that address, and I can put it in a vault. I can put it, in bank holdings, wherever. I can just store it long term. That is a cold wallet. Nobody can hack into your wallet. Nobody can access it via internet, and that is what cold storage. That's why cold storage is so popular, because it does keep it safe. It's sort of like a vault for your Bitcoin. Very easy to use. It's literally scan the QR code, send it there, and you can place that wherever. So that's the difference between hot and cold wallets. You want to have both, and you want to make sure you keep most of it in the cold wallet as safely and securely.
So how do you go about getting a cold wallet? Like, what does that process look like?
Yes, so there are a few. This one, Ballet Crypto, is one. You can purchase it online. This was $30, I believe. There's a Trezor, that's $100. And there's another one, Ledger, that I think is about $80. So it does cost, but for the safety and security, as somebody who has experienced a hack attempt, it is worth the money, trust me. Because if you get into the game deep enough and you're talking about 5, 6, 7 figures, you don't want that just laying around, on a hot wallet or on an exchange.
Okay, great. So at this point, I want to see whether, okay, there's a question. What's the cold wallet called again? So you gave us a couple of names.
Yep, I'm typing them here now. Ballet, Crypto, Trezor, and Ledger. And also Open Dime. I forgot that one as well. Yep, there's a few options. So,
And are there any questions on the phone? I believe I see some. Let's see in our Q&A. Where do you see Bitcoin going in the future?
Well, the good thing about Bitcoin is that it's not only about the price, but everybody is enamored with the price. So, in my opinion, I don't think Bitcoin will be any less than 100,000 for one Bitcoin. The reason being, a lot of it is from a mathematical standpoint. There's something called a stock to flow ratio that I sort of have used over the last years trading and using Bitcoin. And we have an event coming up in 11 days, which will sort of help this, where the supply of Bitcoin gets cut in half for miners' rewards, meaning they get about half, they get half of what they did before, meaning demand increases while the supply decreases. And for those of you who are economics 101, that's sort of telling of the price. And then from that point, you can sort of move from there. I believe it'll be at least 100,000 for one Bitcoin. I believe there will be at least one country that adopts Bitcoin as their reserve currency. And if you want to know what that looks like, if China, for instance, right now said that we don't want to use the petrodollar, every single person on this call right now would be dead broke. It would be over, just like that. I mean, there's nothing you could do. If they said we wanted to move to Bitcoin as our reserve currency, which is an option because they own most of it, then people who own Bitcoin would be very rich, and people who don't will be scrambling to purchase it, which would increase the demand while the supply is steadily decreasing, increasing the price more. So that is where I see Bitcoin going in the future. And for those of you who need maybe more push forward, Bitcoin only needs 5% of the gold market cap to be worth $350,000 per Bitcoin. So it only needs 4.7% more of the market cap of what gold has. So I think gold's market cap is over 7 trillion. So just looking into the future, that's where I think Bitcoin's going.
So I have so many questions about this, and we're getting questions in. So one piece is, given what you just even talked about what could happen with currency, what, if you're able to share, is your personal philosophy or the way that you're kind of in this? So we know you're deep into cryptocurrency. How does that then balance against what we would look at as more, the traditional dollar, as you think about your own strategy?
Oh yeah. So from a portfolio standpoint, you never want to overextend yourself into any industry. So yes, I love Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, but I would never say 100% go all in forever. That's all we need. There is a process for a currency to be developed. Currently, we're at the store of value process, proving itself as a store of value. We're in that process. As a medium of exchange, it's still early, and then later it'll be a unit of account. The unit of account portion is what scares most people, is because they worry about the volatility of Bitcoin. They always say, price swings up and down. However, one of the things I want to encourage people as far as Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency is that there are things being built on top of it to stabilize it. Stable coins, different tether. There's a lot of different ways to invest in it to keep it stable. So going forward, one of the things I would say is make sure whenever you're thinking about using Bitcoin cryptocurrency or thinking about it from a volatility standpoint, just realize that as a medium of exchange, it's not there yet. As a unit of account, we're still far off. Right now, it's more of a store of value. Okay.
And so, along the lines of what you've been talking about changes in value, Mia has a question about, does the value of Bitcoin change like a stock? Or is it the same value of when you purchased it? So I know you referenced to 7 years ago getting into this game. If you could even talk to us a little bit about what you've seen happen over the course of that time, as you think about, the value.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yes, Bitcoin, I'm sorry I didn't say this earlier, but Bitcoin has a set supply. It's scarce. That's what makes it valuable. There's no value in something that's not scarce. Like I said before, our dollars are just coupons because they just print them at will. Bitcoin is only 21 million Bitcoins that will ever be mined ever. The last year for it to be the last Bitcoin mined is 2140. Nobody here will be around to see it. However, that is the policy for it going forward. What that means is there's already 18.5 million Bitcoins that have been mined. They're already on the network. People are using them. So you have a small amount of Bitcoins for billions of people who have never experienced it. So yes, the price does change, quote unquote, like a stock. That's only because the market gives it value. What I will say is going back to 2013, when I first bought Bitcoin, it was about 150 for one Bitcoin for $150. So I bought a few back then. And one of the strategies that I've used for novices and people who are just getting into it, don't worry about the price so much. Worry about the why and worry about what Bitcoin can be in the future, and dollar cost average. Don't look at price as much. I like to joke and say I had a beautiful head of hair before I got into Bitcoin. But I watched the price too much, but stressing over it. But it didn't matter. Over time, if you believe in something as an asset, something going forward, the price does what it does. Just dollar cost average over time, every 2 weeks, maybe $20. That's what I started out doing. If you believe in it as an asset. If you do, you shouldn't really worry about the price at all. However, the price does change. It does fluctuate. However, I must say it is the best performing asset of the last 10 years. Nothing's even close. Gold, nothing's close to Bitcoin. So we've never seen this amount of this transfer of wealth happen. And I think a lot of people are sort of scared, like, is this real? Yes, it's very real. I'm walking testimony. Like I said, I've been here since almost the beginning. And like you said, some of the things I've seen with the price, I saw the price go to $1,000 2 months after I bought it. And I was really hyped about that. And then I saw it drop over time back down to 200, 300. And the peaks and valleys, I've probably been through 3 bear markets so far. Looking back, there are blips on the screen. Like looking at charts now, I'm looking back at 2015, 2016. There were swings, quote unquote, so to say. But overall, still over 15,000% made over the time is not something that is volatile to me, or it's not something that's bad volatility. Volatility is good if you know what you're doing. So yes, price can change, but over the years, that's what I've seen. Just long term, we got to think long term.
So thinking about the curve of adoption, where would you say we are right now? I know you talked a little bit about, how to think about cryptocurrency today versus where it's going. But, if I were to go in today, am I a part of the early majority? Am I still, early in the curve? Where am I going to fall?
Oh yeah, yes, you are still early. I think a lot of people think they're late to the game because it's, they've heard about it in the news. There's only been confirmed about 80 million Bitcoin addresses, and only about 10 million of those are active. That's 10 million people. It's less people than, it's more people than that in LA where I live at. So it's very early. And on top of that, the people that do have it or own it, being able to utilize it and incorporate it in the business, that's going to take a long time. So everybody listening right now, you are considered an early adopter. Congratulations. Just hearing about Bitcoin, you're ahead of 99% of the world. And the ability to be on a call like this, I'm sure you have the technology to go forth and buy it. So that will put you ahead of pretty much everybody as far as investment goes.
Got you. So we have a question here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what are your thoughts on what Bitcoin halving will do to a novice's interaction with cryptocurrency?
Oh, yeah. So like I stated before, there's an event coming up May 12th. The supply of Bitcoin, again, is scarce. So the reward that miners receive, and miners are people who uphold the network, they receive a certain amount every 10 minutes because they verify the transactions. So every 10 minutes, they receive a reward. Right now, that reward is 12.5 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. So every 10 minutes, even as we're talking, there was 12.5 Bitcoin every 10 minutes pushed to a miner. Now, May 12th, that reward will get cut to 6.25 as a reward. So what that does as a miner, meaning when you receive Bitcoin, it increases demand for people trying to purchase it because miners don't have as much. And holders who have been holding Bitcoin for a long time will reap the benefits because it will be almost impossible to buy it on exchanges. Every time the price goes up, exchanges crash, it's too much volume, it's way too much demand. So if you're a holder and you can sell over the counter, good for you because it'll be very high in demand then. So if you're a novice, if you're just hearing about Bitcoin, this is a great time to learn about it, because if you didn't see Bitcoin, it went up 13% yesterday. The approach of the halving, I will say, from a trader standpoint, one thing I have seen is that people, what you're supposed to do is sell, buy the hype, sell the news, a lot of times. So the lead up to the halving, I believe, will be the biggest price push, but I think the actual event itself, we may see some push down in price, but that's all for traders and for people that worry about price. Long term, it's going to be very hard for people to buy Bitcoin, but a lot of people are going to want to buy it. A lot more demand is coming. So that is how you should think about it. And once again, if you're a novice, dollar cost average. Do not worry yourself with price as much as you think you should. Just dollar cost average, and you should be good from there.
Okay. So we have a question from Charles. And so he says, thoughts on FB Libra?
Facebook Libra is not a cryptocurrency. If you have heard the word cryptocurrency and don't know what it means, that is their intention. There's a lot of people who have seen the word and they kind of know what it is, but they don't know that they throw that word in there to pull you in as if it's some technological advancement. All it is them taking your data from Facebook and basically tying your money to it. And unfortunately, as a tech guy, I don't trust Facebook at all with anything. I definitely will not trust them with overseeing my money. And what Libra will do is basically provide a one-to-one stable coin for the money in your bank account. It would just go through Facebook. And they will reap the fees. And because they have over 1 billion users, they would basically be a bank, a global online bank. So do I think Libra will succeed? Maybe to an extent, because they have corporations involved. I don't know if they'll be able to get it off the ground, though, because government is pushing back on them harder than they are on Bitcoin. If you've seen some of the Supreme Court proceedings. So Libra, if you're listening, is not a cryptocurrency. It is a one-to-one stable coin. It's just a digital dollar. They're just rebranding it, packaging it, and trying to get you to buy something else. It's just the same old, same old.
Okay. Any other questions? Are there any? Okay. Oh, great question. So what countries use Bitcoin the most?
China and Japan are top two. USA right after that, and Europe following that. And I believe India would be up there. India and a lot of the African countries would be there. They just don't have enough data to show it. However, knowing people on the ground, there's a huge demand in India, and then on sites like local Bitcoins where people meet face to face. You can search the volume there. The volume is double or triple a lot of places, and places like Zimbabwe, Ghana, Nigeria. So those are some of the biggest places it's used. Like I said before, China is the biggest owner of Bitcoins, so to say, because they mine it. But at the same time, it's an open market, so it's plenty of room for people to get in and purchase Bitcoin from any country at any time.
Great. Okay, so we have a couple of questions in. Can you speak on blockchain a little, like in general, beyond crypto?
Yes. Well, here's the thing. When Bitcoin was created, blockchain, the word blockchain came after that to describe the ledger that Bitcoin uses. And that ledger is valid because value is going back and forth daily, all day, around the world. Blockchain as a word itself applied to other cryptocurrencies has some value, but not necessarily the value that people are hyping it up to be, because some people are using it like hot sauce. They just throw blockchain on everything. They don't really need a blockchain. There's some companies, there was a Long Island iced tea. They just added blockchain in their name and they gained 150% in one day in the stock market. So people are just throwing blockchain on in front of it and basically just marketing their business that way. All it is a database. And to be honest, it's a slow database compared to some of the Amazon products that you can use. The reason blockchain is popular is because the use cases that it does have, very, very specific use cases right now, because it's still early, those use cases save a lot of money, save a lot of time. And like I said before, IBM has their own blockchain with Hyperledger. I want people to understand Bitcoin was created so that you can have autonomy and not have people watch over your purchases. blockchains that are created by companies, oh, most definitely. They are in control of it. They can see it just like before. So that is what it means when somebody talks about a blockchain. They have a blockchain company or they have blockchain technology. All it is a fast-moving database where value is transacted without the need for a third party, so to say. So yes, blockchain is big, but I don't want people to think it goes for everything. Some people don't need it at all.
Okay, so I know earlier on when you were talking, you talk about the simplicity of anyone being able to do this. Can you talk to us a little bit about what are those types of conversations that you're having as you're going out into the community and getting people who might not fit the traditional profile of being like super deep into technology and getting all of these technical terms? What have you found works in getting others into this?
So the best thing that works for me is the price. Unfortunately, I want to get more people onto the why of why you should use Bitcoin and why the Black community should, about face from the financial. But the price is what draws people. And one of the things is not a get rich quick scheme. It's not a multi-level marketing scheme. It's not a pyramid scheme. It's not something where you can just show up and make money. If it was, everybody would do it. I know a lot of people have lost a lot of money thinking that was the case. But what Bitcoin, what it is, basically, it shows you, long-term, exactly how money systems, financial systems, history systems can work. And as far as my community, like I said before, I think going forward, it is essential for us to use it.
Okay. So let's see. As Bitcoin becomes less attainable, what can we think about as informed strategies for focusing on other coins?
Yes. So even as Bitcoin becomes less attainable, buying other tokens and other cryptocurrencies is available through exchanges. I discussed exchanges a little bit earlier, but going deeper into it, these exchanges have a whole list of different coins and cryptocurrencies that can be invested in. I do want to encourage people that just because the price is lower does not mean that you have a better chance of making money. I know some people bought Ripple back in 2017 or 8 or whatever, thinking, oh, it's only 20 cents, it's only 40 cents. And now it's, it's kind of dying. It has no use case. It was literally just speculative. So I want people to be encouraged buying those cryptocurrencies. If you need to get it, you can get it on exchanges such as Binance, Coinbase, again, like I said before, and other exchanges listed on CoinMarketCap, which I'll put that link in here.
Great.
And this website I'm about to put in here lists all 2,000 or more cryptocurrencies. It lists the exchanges listed on, the supply, the creators, everything. So everything you need to know on that website right there.
And I know you've referenced throughout our conversation a bit about the book that you wrote. Can you talk us through a little bit about what we'll find?
Yes, Bitcoin in Black America. One thing you will find, this is a solution-based book. So one thing you will find is a book full of solutions to problems that I think economically we have. Because I think just growing up, I'm 31, and in my 31 years, I have not seen a strategy that economically changed anything. And the data supports that because the median wages of Black people today are the same from the 60s. So that means my parents, their generation, whatever they were doing didn't work. The reason being, it's not our fault. It's not like we're not hard workers. It's not like our community isn't vibrant and growing. The problem is the Federal Reserve and inflation. Inflation slowly cooks you over time. I discuss why that's a problem. I discuss why the money that you make seems less now, even though the wages have stayed the same, but everything's gone up. So people are working 2 jobs and can barely live. Whereas grandma and grandpa, or maybe grandpa just had a job and they were able to buy a whole house. So there are reasons for that. And I think Bitcoin shows why the opposite should be happening. The more, in my book, the more work that we do as a community in Bitcoin, I think the more prosperous we'll be. And we have to have leverage. I discussed that as well. I discussed being able to have conversations about economic changes without using the US system. If you can slowly shift to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and move away from that system, now you have leverage. Now you can say, we are not a part of the system. What do you want to do to bring us back? And that is a sort of radical thought process, but nothing else has worked. So why not? Unless people are about to start going out and shooting bankers and take down the Federal Reserve and a strong arm, which nobody's going to do. This is the most peaceful protest you can do, and you don't waste time standing outside protesting and walking around getting shot at, beat up. It's very, very beneficial. So that's what I would say is in the book is most important. It discusses Black churches, how they can use it. It discusses HBCUs. It goes into education for teenagers, all of those things, and also future solutions as well. So in my opinion, a great first book for people, very easy to read. And I think if you don't know anything about Bitcoin, you can start from zero and you have some good knowledge at the end.
I think this is great. As you talk about, you know, it really sounds like your focus here is rooted, one, just in foundational understanding of the way things work economically, and then being able to frame Bitcoin as a path in to be able to shift some of that. So it's quite inspiring. We have a question here about, you know, you spoke about creating a crypto. How can someone create their own cryptocurrency, and how do you actually ensure its value?
Oh yeah. So I mean, technically, you can copy and paste the code from GitHub. There's plenty of cryptocurrencies out there. You can literally, you know, kid can copy, paste it, upload it on a server, and you have a working cryptocurrency. However, for it to have value, it does have to have a use case. You do have to have engineers working on it. You have to have a community of people willing to convert their fiat dollars, their cash dollars into your cryptocurrency and not only use it, but hold it, believe in it long term that I can use this and that it will benefit us. If you create a currency, you have to, it is fun to do, just to play around with. I've done it before. I've created some back in the day just to test them out. But if you're serious about creating a currency, you have to think about what you're creating from scratch. An entire currency for people to use is very, very hard to get people to use it. Very hard to convince people that it's safe, that it's secure, that it won't be hacked. Those are all hurdles Bitcoin has jumped over. So if you think about creating a cryptocurrency, it is very easy to create. It is very, very hard to actually ensure it has value and to maintain it. It is fun though. It is a great teaching tool for those who want to teach children or teach people about sending cryptocurrency without actually spending your dollars.
Okay. So let's see. Any other questions or anything I might have missed? Which website? Okay. If there are no other questions, then what I will say is thank you, Isaiah Jackson, for joining us today. We appreciate it. So one thing I do want to provide for you an opportunity to give us all of your information, all of your contact information, as well as show us your book one more time so that we can support, continue our knowledge gathering.
Yes, absolutely. So yes, available on Bitcoin and BlackAmerica.com or Amazon. Either one is fine. Yes, and you can find me at BitcoinZay, BitcoinZay on Twitter, and at BitcoinZay LLC on Instagram. I will put in my email here, but if you go to the website, you can sign up for consultations or just a 15-minute meet through the calendar. So you sign up there and we can have a time to discuss more. And if you want consulting, we can go from there. But yes, that is how you can find me. And long term, I do want to shift off of sort of the social media that I have now. I want to make sure it's sustainable. But for now, that is where I'm at.